Well, that was a great workout. Thank you, Donna and Cornell, for getting us to sweat. And I did love the stretch, and I think I'm actually back to my pre-pregnancy weight now. That was impressive. But next, we're going to move on. We're going to hear from Dr. James Rimmer, Science Board Chair, and Dr. Stephen McDonough, Council Member and Liaison to the Science Board, for an update on the Science Board.
Thank you, Dominic, and it's my pleasure to be here this morning and to give you a very, very brief overview of the work that the Science Board has conducted this year. I would like to first specially thank Hannah Torkelson, who's been sort of my guide in ensuring that these phone calls and meetings and reports are done with the highest level of efficiency, so I appreciate that. So if we can turn to the first slide, please. Just a couple of highlights on this slide. The roles and responsibilities of the Science Board were formalized in 2013. The importance of that is to ensure that what the Science Board's role is really to serve as an advisory committee to the President's Council. So I would like to encourage all of the board members to consider using the Science Board when there is a question or an issue associated with any level of evidence. The importance of what we do is to ensure that there's the highest level of scientific integrity in the work that you promote. The adult fitness test was relaunched in 2014. I think we would all agree that the President's Council legacy was associated with the fitness test for children. But if you are aware of the literature, the scientific literature, fitness is extremely important for adults as well. So the importance of the adult fitness test is to really encourage healthcare professionals and even employers to consider recommending the test to promote the importance of fitness. And then the third bullet is really addressing the importance of the Science Board in serving on federal advisory committees, and two noteworthy ones are the Physical Activity Guidelines Committee. The mid-course review was done a couple of years ago, and we had several board members who were part of that. We also have board members who have expertise in nutrition who served on the Dietary Guidelines Committee. And just as a note of information, guidelines are extremely important because all Americans are encouraged to participate in them. So extremely important that we have Science Board members that connect with these committees and then come back to you and sort of report and highlight on some of the scientific elements of this. Next slide, please. When this first started, and again, I've been around for a very long time, it was sort of a mimeograph document, and I cannot emphasize how attractive this Elevate Health publication is. So I'd like to give special thanks to Shelley's staff, because it is a wonderful set of information that relates to not only the elements of science, but the importance of putting science into practice. And if you haven't seen the most recent one, which just came out, entitled Healthy Foods and Beverages for Youth in Sports, it's really a magnificent document with cutouts and lots of great information for consumers, professionals, and researchers. So again, a very important document that the Council should be aware of and hopefully promote. We currently have 22,000 subscribers, and one of our goals this year is to try to increase that number by at least 2. Next slide, please. A couple of other updates. The whole concept of engagement and inclusion you heard on several occasions this morning. And inclusion, there's a tremendous campaign that's ongoing now across the world to the concept of commit to inclusion. The importance of that is to ensure that the least active populations in our society and across the world have increased access to what we know is extremely important, and that is physical activity and good nutrition. So engagement and inclusion really means trying to get the council members, the Science Board, and many other communities around the country involved in physical activity and nutrition to work together to promote the elements of health among those who are least served. The working groups that are currently ongoing, we have one titled the Nutrition and Behavioral Health Group. This is also an extremely important topic. Mental health issues in our society today create many elements of poor health, one of them being physical inactivity, the other being poor nutrition. So this is a fabulous working group who's really looking at the intersection of how nutrition affects behavior and how that behavior could lead to positive or negative outcomes. So it's a great document. They're proposing to develop a peer-reviewed journal article as well as a report for the council. The second working group is on active aging. This has been ongoing for over a year now. Over the next 10 or 15 years, the number of people over the age of 65 will double. So it's extremely important to reach the older adult population in our communities today and ensure that they are protected by engaging in good health practices and improved nutrition. Elevate Health we mentioned earlier, which is to increase the number of subscribers substantially from what it currently is. And then this last group is the whole of school physical activity. And this has been an ongoing process of looking at why are schools involved or not involved in required physical education. And what they've recognized, this committee, is that it's not necessarily the teachers or the community that is not interested in increasing the amount of physical activity and physical education in schools, but rather it's the administration that they really need to reach. So they're currently working on a report to encourage administrators to increase the amount of time in physical activity. And then from there, I'll just go ahead and turn it over to the second part of the presentation, Dr. McDonough.
Thank you, Dr. Rimmer. I've always found it to be very helpful to hang out with people that are smarter than me. And being on the, listening on the conversations of the Science Board, it's been really educational for me as a physician to learn about the science for good nutrition and fitness. In medicine, we are focused on what's called evidence-based medicine. If we make recommendations, we have to have justifications and science behind it. And the Science Board does an outstanding job in providing that for healthcare providers. And I think physical educators, when we're looking at getting more minutes in schools for our kids to have activities and more evidence-based information out there, the better that we can advocate for improving the situation. I just want to thank you for all that you've done. I know it's competitive to get on the Science Board. There are a lot of people in your field and the different fields. This is a great honor to be on it, and the cream rises to the top. I don't know if that's a good nutrition pun, whatever, but the people on there are excellent, and I'm full support of what you're doing. It's very helpful for the council staff, council members to have this science as we go around the United States and advocate for the changes we need. Also, personally want to say that the activity and inclusion is so important. My practice in North Dakota was largely children with chronic disease, and the practice that I had, and I dealt with so many families that were dealing with so many struggles, just keeping alive or being healthy enough to go to school or getting insurance and the finances. And you know, physical activity often was just, you know, just tough to do. You know, just a hard priority to fit in their daily struggles. And there's some that were able to do that. But as I reflect back on at least my experience on the council, the couple of events that I emotionally appreciated the most was going to Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania to do a site visit for the I Can Do It, You Can Do It, and seeing kids with autism and disabilities and of all sorts, working with volunteers at their local YMCA and getting them active with, you know, physical education, or physical therapists and students was just inspiring. And the other one was going to the Wounded Warriors activity athletic competition in Colorado Springs, and seeing men and women in the military who had, you know, done a lot of work, and they were able to, you know, put their best foot forward and had tremendous disabilities as a result of serving this country, and their efforts to compete athletically was just very inspiring. So the more we do as a council with those who are disabled and have so much to deal with in their daily existence, to be fit and to eat healthy, I think it's wonderful. So again, thank you for the council giving me the opportunity to hang out with some really smart people the last 3 years. And what you do is very important. The publication is just, I think it was around a couple thousand we're getting it, and it's gone to 22,000. So that's been another fantastic improvement. So thanks for all you've done.
Thank you, Dr. Rimmer, Dr. McDonough, both for the update. We appreciate all the Science Board's work and your contributions to support this core function of the Council. So thank you. Now I would like to turn it over to Hannah Torkelson, who will help us honor the 2016 Lifetime Achievement Award winners.
And we're all going, all of us are going up here. Up on stage. Yeah, either or, both directions. So as our council members and Shelley transition to the stage, I'll have them line up in the half moon. That's Diane's. Okay. She will be. She's going to come that way. And then, So, in celebration of National Physical Fitness and Sports Month, the President's Council has presented the Lifetime Achievement Awards annually since 2007. This award is given to individuals whose careers have greatly contributed to the advancement or promotion of physical activity, fitness, sports, and/or nutrition-related programs nationwide. Each year, the Council presents up to 5 Lifetime Achievement Awards. They are selected by members of the President's Council based on the span and scope of an individual's career, the estimated number of lives they have touched, and the impact of their legacy. It gives me great pleasure to announce our 5 recipients of the 2016 award this year. Do note that not all of our winners could be here today, and we are arranging for their awards to be presented at a different time and location. Please hold your applause as I read the bios. And then award winners, as I call your name, please come forward. So, Dr. Charles B. Chuck Corbin. Dr. Corbin is Professor Emeritus in the School of Nutrition and Health Promotion at Arizona State University. He is a physical and fitness and physical educator and researcher in fitness, health, and wellness. He has co-authored the first physical activity guidelines for children and is a fellow in the American College of Sports Medicine. He is most recognized for his pioneer work in fitness education, youth fitness, and activity promotion, and served as the first chair of the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition Science Board. He was nominated today by Paul Rodert with Shape America and is unable to attend. Ms. Diane Hart. Ms. Hart is the President and Executive Director of the National Association for Health and Fitness and the key architect and chair of the Global Employee Health and Fitness Month. As a fitness professional, Ms. Hart holds multiple national certifications in the field of fitness and health promotion. Her activities include provider and health specialist with Blue Shield of Northeastern New York, specializing in corporate wellness programs. She's also the founder of Heart to Heart Fitness. Ms. Hart is the proud recipient of the Silver Eagle National Leadership Award, created in memory of C. Carson Conrad, who served 5 U.S. presidents as Executive Director of the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports. Ms. Hart was nominated by Dr. Keeler of Health Designs International. Dr. Richard J. Hodes. Dr. Hodes has directed the National Institutes of Health's National Institute on Aging since 1993. He has devoted his tenure to the development of a strong, diverse, and balanced research program focusing on the genetics and biology of aging, basic and clinical studies aimed at reducing disease and disability, including Alzheimer's disease and age-related cognitive change. He is also focused on dissemination of research results to health professionals and to the public, including initiatives on exercise and physical activity, aimed at maintaining health and well-being while aging, led by the Institute's Go for Life physical activity and exercise campaign for adults age 50s and older. He was nominated by Dr. Wanda Jones, Principal Deputy Secretary for Health, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, with the assistance of Ms. Vicki Cahan, Director with the Office of Communications and Public Liaison at National Institute on Aging, and Ms. Megan Homer, Director of the Go for Life campaign. That is a mouthful. He's unable to join us today as well. Rafer Johnson was the founding member of the Special Olympics of California and served on the Southern California Board of Directors for more than 40 years. He was instrumental in the development of the Special Olympics program, its fundraising activities, and everything else ever since. He was nominated due to his long-standing recognition of 50 honors and awards, including a silver medalist at the 1956 Olympics and gold medalist at the 1960 Games in the decathlon. He was nominated by John Neighbor with Neighbor & Associates and is unable to join us today. Grandmaster Ken Min. Mr. Min is Faculty Emeritus, Director of the International Martial Arts Research Institute at the University of California, Berkeley. His life has been devoted to the martial arts, first as competitor, then as an instructor, coach, and ultimately founder, editor, manager, researcher, and administrator. He founded the University of California Martial Arts Program, which includes judo, taekwondo, wushu, karate, tai chi chuan, and yang mundo. The Berkeley Taekwondo team, under his leadership, has won 34 national team titles within a 38-year period. He was a founding member of the World Taekwondo Federation and served on that organization's governing council for almost 4 decades. He was nominated by Grandmaster Moo Young Lee with the Korean American Charity Foundation. He was unable to join us today. However, his daughter, Dr. Sylvia Min Luther, is accepting the award on his behalf. Please join me in a big round of applause for our 2016 Lifetime Achievement Award winners. Congratulations. And in honor of our 60th anniversary this year, the President's Council has also recognized 60 leaders at the community level from across the country with the 2016 Community Leadership Award. The Community Leadership Award is given annually to individuals or organizations who improve the lives of others within their community by providing or enhancing opportunities to engage in sports, physical activities, fitness, and nutrition-related programs. A listing of these winners is available on our website at www.fitness.gov. Congratulations to all our 2016 PCFSN Award winners. Thank you.
Congratulations again to all of our 2016 Lifetime Achievement Awardees and Community Leadership Award recipients as well. Let's give them another round of applause. As Hannah and others have mentioned, this is a big year for the Council as we are celebrating our 60th anniversary. We are so thankful that Rob Shepherdson has been leading our charge for the past 6 years and has developed a well-thought-out and thorough strategy to help us celebrate the past 60 years and to chart our vision for the next 60 years. No pressure. I'd like to turn it over to Rob at this moment, and I'd also like to welcome up Let's Move Executive Director Deb Eschmeyer to join us for this discussion. Rob, you can take the floor.
Thank you, Dom. I appreciate it. And welcome, Deb. It's good to see you again. This is a very exciting time, and we're all here for a launch of a new program. So we want to make the reveal as exciting as we can. As you may recall, at the meeting last year, we had talked about acknowledging the 60th anniversary and planning for that, and I think almost everybody volunteered to be a part of it. The subcommittee that so ably did a lot of work and helped the joint effort, I want to acknowledge and thank Jane Greenberg, General Hertling, Dr. McDonough, and Anthony Robles. Appreciate it. And many of you spent time with us on the phone and getting your insights and ideas and what have you, so appreciate that time too. Our job really as mandated by Shelley and also with Chris Watts of the foundation, was to figure out a program that would do justice to the 60 years that we've seen, and then, as Dom said, going forward too into the next 60 years. I'm going to talk about that and give you a little bit of context for that, but first we're going to show a short clip by President Kennedy to provide a little context for all the work that we do.
The strength of our democracy in our country is really no greater in the final analysis than the well-being of our citizens. I think during this period we should make every effort to see that the intellectual talents of every boy and girl are developed to the maximum, and that also their physical fitness, their willingness to participate in physical exercise, their willingness to participate in physical contests and athletic contests, all these, I think, will do a good deal to strengthen this country and also to contribute to a greater enjoyment of life in the years to come. This is a responsibility which is upon all of us. I want to urge that this be a matter of great priority. A sound mind and a sound body is one of the oldest slogans of the Western world. I'm hopeful that we will place a proper weight on intellectual achievement. But in my judgment, for the long-range happiness and well-being of all of you, for the strengthening of our country, for a more active and vigorous life, that all of you as individuals and as groups will participate in strengthening the physical well-being of young American boys and girls. This is a matter of importance.
Well, I must say I've never had to follow President Kennedy before. But obviously, he, as well as all of our former presidents, and certainly President Obama, puts our work in the largest of contexts. It is as important as all the other work that's done in the federal government. And so we took our effort obviously very seriously, how to acknowledge 60 years, but really more importantly, talk about the next 60 and launch a new phase or redouble our efforts going forward. If we can go to the slide, Council, there we go. As many of you know, on July 16th, 1956, President Eisenhower established the President's Council to ensure that American youth were fit and active. And while the context and the time certainly have changed, as you can see by that photograph, the goal really has not. Obviously, into the current administration, health remains a national priority and an important priority for the work that we all do. As we moved ahead into the development of our campaign, there we are. You can go to the next slide. As we developed then, based on that mandate, the goals for the 60th anniversary campaign, we had a couple that we had to keep in mind. Obviously, we wanted to reinforce the promise of the Council that was so beautifully articulated to help Americans achieve a healthy and active lifestyle, to also, in many ways, redouble the effort of the name and the role and the function of the Council in the country, and ensure that it was contemporary as it needed to be, which it is, but make sure that everybody knew that. And then, most importantly, really engage as many stakeholders as we possibly could to help us do this work. So those were the goals. The process we followed, really, I don't need to go into any detail, but we essentially spent a lot of the fall doing our homework, talking to many of you, talking to many of the experts around the country in health and fitness and nutrition and well-being and all of it. It was a fascinating learning process. Looked at all the different programs that were out there, which, as we all know in this room, as some of the world's experts, there are thousands and thousands across the country in the public and private sector. So we began to realize how daunting our task was. But as we started to narrow our thinking and narrow our campaign development, on the next slide, we talk about the key findings. And as in any campaign, but certainly in an area as this, the real challenge was to be simple about it, was to really narrow this down to an intuitive idea that everybody could grasp. We are talking, obviously, to every American here. And it had to be easy, it had to be understandable, it had to fit in the culture. We didn't have time to educate people about a complex program. That was number one. Number two, our target really in the center of the bullseye was very much parents and caregivers and educators, because they are the ones that obviously make decisions for how our children live their lives at home, at school, and at play. We really had to make sure, because obviously we do not have a marketing budget the way some of the large private sector companies do, that we were going to go where our audience exists currently. We weren't going to ask them to find us. We were going to go where they are already. Obviously, a lot of that these days is around social and digital media. And then, importantly, as we've just heard, the extraordinary success that Shelley explained, there's so much work that's been done. There's so much even more important than the work impact that has been done. And this simple idea had to also at the same time be big enough to accommodate all of those programs and allow people to come in and explore and then choose where they would go as relative to what they wanted to do with their exercise, with their station in life, and what have you, all at the same time being sensitive to the complexity of what we're talking about. As many of us know, this is it's a complicated subject. To get people to maintain a healthy lifestyle, to even start on that ladder to a healthy lifestyle, there's all sorts of issues: cultural, societal, income, geography, religion, tradition. All of that has to be factored into this. So at that point, we're still looking at a blank sheet of paper. And for folks in the work that we do, that creates a lot of panic. But we took a step back, and we started to think about some ideas and started to think about what the rationale really was that we wanted to do. And so we have a little line or a sentence here that laid down the rationale for how we were going to get to this simple idea. And it begins on the next slide, which is, and I'm just going to read this, they say a new habit takes root when you've done something around 60 days in a row, which is perfect for us, considering it's our 60th anniversary. And since kids need 60 minutes of activity, and sharing tips on eating healthy should only take about 60 seconds. So let's take people on a journey from 0 to 60. The idea is 0 to 60. Now, that's a phrase that we've all heard in the context of accelerating, of going from a standing start and moving fast. And it was the line and the idea that we have adopted, moving from 0 to 60, so that it was accessible for anyone to start living a healthy lifestyle. And even if you were an athlete and you work out 4 or 5 times a week, there's always something extra you could do. But obviously has a double meaning, from 0 to 60 with our 60th anniversary. But more importantly, it's a message to everybody out there, regardless of, as I said before, the situation they may find themselves in, physically, culturally, whatever it might be, that they can begin on the road. They can start on the road to a healthy lifestyle. And now, as we've begun to build this campaign out, and we are going to launch it this evening, officially, I guess right now is the official launch of it. But this evening, there will be partners that are many that have been assembled that will help us in this effort. We'll come together and kick this off. The logo you see on the right-hand side is a new logo that was established and created for the 60th anniversary. And as you might imagine, the premium, as Dr. DeSalvo mentioned at the beginning, as much work as has been done, and the commitment by the President, the First Lady, and the First Family even, has been so extraordinary and really historic. The message still needs to get out there. There still are plenty of people who don't get it. They don't get it on a regular basis. It's very difficult to them, to Dr. McDonough's point. People are trying to make ends meet, live their lives, find places, find ways, find opportunities to work out, to walk, to do dance, to do whatever it might be. And it's difficult for a lot of people. And we want this to reach everybody. So we have put together an integrated program that will launch through this year, which I'll talk about in just a second. So beginning on the next slide, as I mentioned, these days, it really begins and ends in many ways with a digital and social media campaign. This is a Facebook page, as you might imagine, that we will use to get the message out. On the next page, you'll see the website. By the way, there is the logo that was a little uncooperative before, that was not showing up. The hashtag 0 to 60. Obviously, one of the things that the council dictated in many ways last year when we met was, this has to be technologically relevant. It has to work with how we live our lives these days, which is on our smartphone. And by the way, that is only accelerating, for good or not, but it's a fact. And so that's why the hashtag 0 to 60 was a device that we are going to use a lot as we make our way through this. So, but that's a picture, a photograph of the homepage on the website. On the next slide, you'll see an image of the app that we are building, as I mentioned, so that people can engage with it on their phones. And it is a very, very easy, enticing way to come in. We may be coming to some of you and some of others to help do a short video or take advantage of some of the work that you're already doing to put on here, and then direct people to some of the terrific programs that Deb oversees at Let's Move, and the many programs that the council oversees, and others, by the way, in the government as well, and links to other fitness communities around the country as well. That's one part of it. The next part of it, obviously these days, and particularly given the extraordinary First Lady and President that we are so honored to serve, we are going to take advantage of that, and we are going to figure out the right way to use not just the First Lady but others to get the message out. I can't give all the news away, but we are doing a video with some of the top Hollywood talent. We're pretty sure that the First Lady will be able to engage in that as well, and hopefully even at some point through the summer, the President. And a history lesson for some of you. Anybody remember the song that went along with the Fitness Council back in the day? There you go. Yeah, it's quite a song. It should, I think, be in a museum somewhere. But there was a song that was commissioned by President Kennedy. It was written by a very famous Broadway producer and performed by a very famous Broadway performer. We need to have a new song. It's time to have a new song. and everyone agreed that that was the case, and we've got some very good news about that, too. So there will be a new song that will be launched as part of this.
And we've been assured that the words chicken or fat will not be in the
No.
song, right?
No.
Just check it.
No, absolutely not. So we will use, obviously, all the tools in the toolbox these days as we push to get our message out, and that includes celebrities and what have you. On the next slide, we're very excited about this element of the program, which we're calling Inspiration Everywhere, and that is using the incredible partners that have been put together by the council and by the foundation, schools and community centers and parks and hospitals and sports facilities around the country will have programs that they will adopt. We will create and make it easy, as the council always does, to engage with them, and they will have both the branding you see up there. That's a park bench, as an example, at the top with the little sign, go from 0 to 60, and Donna Cornell, maybe we'll get you to help do, little, maybe 60, 90, 100, 120, 180 second little exercise programs. So you're walking along the park, and you can do this at the park bench, times hopefully about 1,000. The picture at the bottom is our rendering of what might occur in gym classes, with some posters of some celebrities and what have you. And then finally, on the last slide, other national grassroots event. The program, as we've envisioned it right now and has been really begun to be planned, is to launch today and really make sure that we are talking to the partners and getting them excited about it. And there will be summertime activations. Obviously, a lot of people outside during the summer, and our partners are very excited about those collaborations. The big push to the real mass public will be in the August-September timeframe, back to school, for obvious reasons, with the engagement with the schools and the school districts and what have you, to build on the work with the fitness program. That's when the big mass push will occur, and there's some very, very exciting partnerships that are contemplated there as well, and I think a few that are locked in place. And Shelley could mention those if it's approved to mention some of those if she'd like. And then the continued partner activation. So that's the program. That's the idea. That's the name. That's the focus of it. And I think that we've ended up in a very, very good place. Everybody that sees it is very excited about it. It does the multiple things that I had identified as some of our challenges. A very, very clear, intuitive, easy to grasp idea. From 0 to 60, go from 0 to 60, accelerate your journey to living healthy. So you don't have to explain it. Everybody can get it. So it's specific, yet at the same time broad enough that partners can come into it and can come in underneath it and support it. So what I wanted to do now was pause and really open it up for a discussion. What we'd really love is for questions, comments, suggestions, because right now, as many of you have done already, we continually need to think of ideas and of partnerships, programs. Everybody here, every council member touches a part of the fitness and nutrition world. Everybody has their relationships and their organizations that they're formally or informally engaged with. People know people, et cetera, and we're really looking for all of those ideas, to capture all of those ideas as we continue to build out this campaign over the summer and launching it into the fall. We talked about our parents and young children, older children in my case, grandchildren in other cases, and our perspective as the ones that make decisions about our children and grandchildren, as the case may be, on the physical and nutritional lives that our kids lead. And lead and what could be done, maybe lessons learned. And then obviously every council member, hopefully, getting engaged in this and helping to amplify this and push the message out and do what we all want to do, which is, as Dr. DeSalvo mentioned at the very beginning, get this message out to everybody, because that right now is the challenge. The challenge is to get it out to as many people as we can, working with Deb and her incredible crew at the White House as part of Let's Move, as well as the others. So I'll stop there and open it up for questions, comments. I'd love to hear all of it.
Rob, I just wanted to note that Allison Felix has joined us on the phone. Allison, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Excellent. Were you able to hear most of the presentation?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it sounds really exciting.
Excellent. I know you're rehabbing there, Allison, and getting ready for the Olympics. So I know you're only be on for a few minutes. So please jump in where you'd like, and we're so glad that you're joining us.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I wish I could be there, but yeah, I'll be following along.
So please, questions? Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to jump right in and say from the start, thank you to each and every one of you for your representation on the council on behalf of the First Lady and the President. You all know that you're stellar role models already, but you are truly making a difference with your public service and with your thought leadership on how do we make sure we're actually making this relevant for the next generation. So I just want you to know they are deeply grateful for everything that you're contributing and for everything we're going to do moving forward. And special thanks to Rob for all the incredible work that he's done on putting this together. He's gone through many iterations and a lot of patience and the back and forth on this, and it's truly incredible, and we're excited to lift this up in fun and creative ways. So all ideas are welcome. Everyone should know that for how do we make sure we reach folks on this. And I challenge us to make a way to get this across on a regular basis. It is launching today. It's not going to go for a larger launch again back into school time. But we should think about, if Kirby and I decide to walk back to the White House today, that's 37 of our 60. So it's like, we can go tweet out on the Let's Move account, hey, we got our 37 to our 60. So then you can say, too, you're walking around the airport, I just got 27 of my 60, right? So it's like making sure that we take responsibility for finding ways to make this hit home. And for everyone that's also, around the room today, let us know. Did you get your 60, right? Like, let's actually make some noise. But I hope that folks will to really take on that challenge themselves and get that across.
Well, I see that you guys want to focus on reaching people where they are, and the emphasis was on the fact that we are really obsessed with our smartphones, and it's only going to get worse or better, whichever viewpoint you want to take. And I think Dr. DeSalvo mentioned in her remarks earlier that we want to reduce, screen time. And, as a mom of 2 girls, I've had very limited time to get my full 60 minutes in at once. And I found this awesome app. I'm not going to promote it, but this awesome app that gives me a 5-minute workout on an app, and it's an overall body workout. And so I would encourage you, as you're promoting events or activities or what the First Lady's doing or athletes are doing to, engage with Cornell or Donna, possibly, and they do the 60-second, 120 seconds or, 180 seconds of a workout. Something very short and brief, because our attention span these days is very limited, and at least it turns that screen time into some productive, active movement time instead of just someone looking and reading about an event.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and there are many apps out there that actually help people because, of course, these days you need an app to do everything. But that's a very good point. Thank you, Don. Yes.
I read a study recently that said when we're doing different things, our brain is engaged to a different degree. So maybe when you're doing math problems, it's this much. Maybe when you're really engaged with someone you want to be with. It's using other parts. But when you're hearing a story, your whole brain is engaged. And so I just think we have to think about ways to tell the stories of people that are really embracing this, because it's going to be stories that will inspire people more than facts and figures and maybe even, you know, celebrities. So let's tell some stories about how to inspire people.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Just sort of jumping on what's been said already, I love the idea of telling stories. I also love the idea that you can get in your 60 minutes throughout the day in different ways. I think that's really important too, because I think it can be daunting and challenging for a lot of people when they say, I've got to get back in shape, I've got to be healthy, but it can be an intimidating process. So I think it's really important that we lift up those stories and also provide opportunities to exercise that, you know, suggestions that may not be the first thing that comes to mind when you think I'm going to go work out. I love, Cornell, what you said. It's not let's gym, it's let's move. I love that. That's such a good, that's such a great philosophy, because it really is just about getting out there and moving and doing the best you can. It's not always easy every single day. So the opportunity to really provide some suggestions or, again, the stories of what people do on a day-to-day basis, I think would be really helpful.
It's great. Thanks, Caitlin. Jane?
I think I love the simplicity of it, 0 to 60. It makes a lot of sense. It turns in with the physical activity guidelines of 60 minutes more physical activity. I love what we discussed earlier, where we live, work, learn, play, and pray, where you can work as a team and group and find someone to be physically active with. And I love, of course, with the schools, the before, during, and after component of having kids being physically active at the school environment, where we know we have 50 million kids every day. So we have a good reach there. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, Cornell.
I was getting ready to say, too, it's also good to, and I know we're saying that from 0 to 60, to, in a simple way, express the progression. And so, you know, you're starting at 0, and so your first day might not be 60. But if it's 10, you win. And so we want to have a progression kind of thing like that, so people know that they can build to their 60, and that's a success.
Yeah. It's part of the, this is the theme, of course, it's part of the app that's being built that will essentially allow people to see that progress and to be encouraged by it. Just on the point of storytelling, I'd ask the council members to send along their favorite story, or let us know if you have heard a story, or an individual, or a school, or something like that, because you're the ones that hear these stories. You're out there, you're talking to people, and as we all know, the stories that make an impact on you will make an impact on everybody else. So, you know, you're that first line, and you're sensitive to it. So, so good stories, please let us know, because we really want those authentic, genuine stories of all shapes, sizes, circumstances. Please send those in. Yeah,
How
Michelle.
about like a social media kind of campaign on Twitter, Instagram, kind of the idea of the Ice Bucket Challenge, but taking it as simple as, you know, Jane, you mentioned, it's very simple, 0 to 60, hashtag 0 to 60, creating sort of a video content where perhaps we start with the council members, creating a 60-second video. We share it on our social media platforms. We have the president and the first lady involved, and then creating and having it sort of a grassroots campaign where people are sharing what they do in 60 seconds, and then kind of saying, and I want Jason Collins to be the next person to do the 60-second challenge or 0 to 60 challenge.
That's a great idea. I'd love Jason to just, sort of unrelated, just do that Ice Bucket Challenge.
Already did it.
Oh, you did? No, it's a great idea, Michelle, absolutely. And there have been a couple different ideas thrown around that way, so we really must get to something like that.
And just to piggyback on that, so much about fitness and health is what you see in your family. So maybe with the kids going home and spreading the message, like to encourage their parents to do it. So I'm trying to get the whole family involved, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. It's been said, but I must say that the leadership of Shelley and the work and the staff and Chris Watts and the foundation and working with Deb and Kirby at Let's Move has been really extraordinary. And everybody's engaged in this and very excited, and we look forward to the next few months. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Deb. Wonderful presentation. We are all very excited about the 60th anniversary of the President's Council and look forward to inspiring all Americans on their journey from 0 to 60. To close out what's been shared and to preview what's ahead, we have a special video message from Councilmember Rachel Ray.
Happy 60th anniversary to all of my friends at the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. It is such an honor for me to have been working alongside you to help our families and particularly American children, you know, helping them to eat better and to simply move more. It's a message that we try and share every day on this show, and in this season alone, our 10th season, I wanted to share with you that we have committed over 40 whole segments on health, nutrition, and wellness, and many of them starred young leaders from all over our country, young people that were doing great things in their communities to keep each other fed and to get their families moving and eating a healthier diet. I've been able to invite some of my fellow council members here, like the lovely Misty Copeland, Grant Hill, and of course our good pal, Dr. Ian Smith. They have joined me at this show to help spread our word. 60 years is quite an accomplishment, but our work certainly, sadly, isn't done yet. I look forward to continuing our fight alongside all and each of you to help make sure that Americans adopt a healthier lifestyle each and every day. Much love.
What a fantastic message from Rachel Ray. It's so great to have her on the team. Next, we have, continuing with our 60th anniversary discussion, we have Council Member Dr. Risa Lavizzo-Moret. She will provide insight for the next 60 years. For this discussion, I'd like to invite Abby and her fellow Fuel Up to Play 60 Youth Ambassador, Anai, to join us at the table. Additionally, at this time, we are excited to welcome back Dr. Karen DeSalvo. Dr. DeSalvo is the Acting Assistant Secretary of Health for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. She is a physician who has focused her career toward improving access to affordable, high-quality care for all people, especially vulnerable populations, and promoting overall health. She has done this through direct patient care, medical education, policy and administrative roles, research, and public service. Her commitment to improving the public's health includes leveraging public-private partnerships to address the social determinants of health through environmental, policy, and system-level changes. Dr. DeSalvo earned her medical doctorate and master's in public health from Tulane University and a master's in clinical epidemiology from Harvard School of Public Health. She has an honorary doctorate from her alumnus institution, Suffolk University. Following our conversation, Dr. DeSalvo will provide her reflections on a healthier future. Risa, thank you for moderating this discussion.
Great.
I'll turn the mic over to you.
Great, thank you, Dom. Well, let me just get us started by trying to get everyone to think long-term, like the next 60 years, and how we can build a culture of health where all of us can be healthier. And some of you know I talk a lot about this, and usually when I start off, people are thinking, what does she mean by a culture of health? Well, let's start with culture. Culture can mean a lot of things, you know, music, art, but in this context, I want you just to think of it as the way we do things around here, the way we do things in our families, in our workplaces, in our schools, on this council, how we do things around here. And think about the aspects of our culture that make it easy for us to be healthy or not. And when I say healthy and be healthier, I don't just mean the absence of sickness. I mean health, mind, body, spirit, and community. So Why is that important? It's important because being healthy and having health as a focus, as President Kennedy said, is really the bedrock of prosperity. It's the foundation of a strong and competitive nation, and a nation that's able to really be safe around the world. It's what gives us confidence and the ability to be innovative and competitive. It's really who we are in this country. So when you think about that and you ask yourselves, why is so many of this discussion we've had so far focused on how difficult it is to be healthy? I heard that word. It's difficult to work in physical activity. It's difficult to work in good nutrition. I heard it at least 6 times in the last hour. What we want to do is engage all of you in a discussion about how we can change that over the next 60 years, because this is a long-term proposition. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Now, when you think about that, and we do a lot of this at the foundation, we try to get people to imagine what the future should look like. And we often bring people who are very different together, and we say, think about a time in your childhood, a moment when you felt you were at your peak. You were confident, happy, you felt healthy, you felt like you could do anything. And no matter how difficult a childhood people have had, they usually can recall a moment like that. And when they do, there are a few things that come forward. They remember often being physically active. Even if they have limitations, they remember some activity. They remember being connected to other people during that moment. They remember feeling safe and being in a community that really embraced them. So I think if you all reflect on your peak moment, you would probably have some of those same observations. So what we want to try to do now is keep in mind what Amelia Earhart said. She said the most difficult decision is to act. After that, everything else is tenacity. So we're going to talk now for the next few minutes about the tenacity that it's going to take for us to get from a culture where it's difficult to be healthy or healthier to one where it's a central part of everything we do, where we live, where we learn, where we work, where we pray, where we just have fun. So with that, I've given you enough time to think about how we're going to do that. I'm going to open it up to the council members to throw some ideas out there. Well, go ahead. Yes, please, Dr. Steve.
We all come to the council, the audience, with our different life experiences, and for 29 years I was a slug. I'm a not-athlete, I was very sedentary. Last 36 years I've been exercising every day. And you go through different phases of your life and things change, and sometimes you run, sometimes you play racquetball, sometimes you play golf poorly, and now the last 20 years I've been walking dogs. And I brought this up before, but I went to a meeting in Anaheim representing the council on the Joint Commission on Sports Medicine and Science. And there was a presentation from a lady from the doctor from the Centers for Disease Control about dog obligation. And I had a previous golden retriever that walked 15,000 miles with, and now I've got 3 golden retrievers. I walk 1 mile 4 times a day. And my top priority when I get up every day is how am I going to get my dogs 2 hours of exercise. And and I fit everything else in to that pattern. Where the weather front's coming in, when the rain's coming in, or whatever, they get their 2 hours. And pet ownership is up. You know, I had 3 kids, and I've got 3 dogs, and my kids are all adults and they're living their lives. But I'm an older person now, and I spent my life as a pediatrician focusing on kids. And looking toward the future, I think there's a tremendous potential for a lot of people like myself, or maybe we're not as active physically, that they wouldn't go walking by themselves. They wouldn't, no way they'd go for a walk down the block or to the park. But if they have a dog, they're going to take that dog for a walk. And with the Surgeon General's call for walking and walkability, a lot of people like myself, we just don't have any talent when it comes to sports or athletic, but we want to be fit and we want to keep our dogs happy. I think that's a potential for the council to get involved in that. I really think the President's Challenge is wonderful activity where I log my physical activity, and I think that's something for the next council to look at. I think we get some new partners that are dog lovers. I think it's bipartisan. That old expression, if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. That's not true, because I know there are a lot of people in Washington that have really good friendships. But both Republican and Democrats, independents, they all are dog lovers. A lot of them are dog lovers, and that's something that maybe we can't bring ourselves together, that dogs can bring ourselves together. So anyway, something to think about.
Great. Commitment to another living being. Cornell, can you top that?
I can't top that, but I mean, I'm a dog lover. I've been a dog breeder, trainer, so I love dogs, and I think that's a great thing. I think that what we find when we talk about campaigns, without giving it a name, when you talk about sports and however we talk about it, we have to find a way to frame it where it's not a campaign, but a way of life. And so it's about, when I work with people, I always say to them, this is not about quick fixes, but a way of life. And so I think our mission is to translate it in such a way that people understand. So it's like walking your dog, it's riding your bike, it's the time you play with your children. But when I hear you say culture, that's what I think about. We have to make this like a way of life where people wake up in the morning and the first thing they do is move and stretch, because it's what you do. It's like your Tai Chi in the morning or your yoga, and it becomes what is normal. I say to people all the time, going to work is a way of life. So if people do that, we don't have to remind them that you have to go to work. So that's how I see this in terms of it is a way of life. And once we, as a culture, that becomes intuitive, and we believe that and begin to live that's just what you do. Right now, we always think of it as something that we do when we find time. But that's where we have to leave. It's a way of life and not something you find time for, but it's how you live.
Others? Yes. Mark, and then I'll go. Jane, go ahead, and then we'll go to Mark.
I'd like to again go back to Let's Move and Let's Move Active Schools and the impact that's made. That we think about schools, we think about kids. But we're talking about the whole school environment. We're talking about the administrative staff, the custodial staff, the cafeteria staff, that when we bring Let's Move Active Schools to the school, we're changing the school environment and making a culture of health in the schools. And when we look at kids, we say they spend more than half their waking day in schools, but in essence, many of them spend 11 hours in school. That if they're dropped off at 6, 7, 8 in the morning and they're not picked up till 6 at night, we have them for 11 hours a day. So the school environment, but the whole of school environment becomes critically important.
Mark, please.
Risa, something you said really resonated, because I've had a change of approach within the last few years since I've retired. The active part, the body part, if you will, of activity had been my focus in one aspect of my military career. But it seems you're addressing the holistic health feature of mind, body, and spirit is critically important. The emphasis is, as Stephen said, on walking a dog. Yeah, that may get you your physical exercise, but there's also that almost spiritual approach to being with nature, with being with another animal, and the emotional approach, the mindful approach of all of these things coming together. So I think as we look at the next 60 years, perhaps the 0 to 60 campaign is just the beginning of a start to reaching out into other areas of holistic health, but this becomes the driver. And the deterioration in some areas of our nation's health, not only from a physical approach, but also the mental and spiritual approach may be linked to our physical activity, as Jane has noted, in schools. You know, a decrease in physical activity also seems to correlate with a decrease in mental and emotional activity. We've got to bring all three of these triads together, and I think that should be the emphasis in the next 60 years.
Excellent point. And I would just add on to that as I'm looking around for others to put their light on, our community as well. I mean, because so much of how comfortable we feel engaging in physical activity and really being a part of activities like that depends on what's available in the community in which we live. So it's mind, body, spirit, and our neighborhoods. How do we make that an active part of our future? Rob, oh, Dom, please.
Sorry.
Thanks. You know, I think it's. I think we should look no further than this table and the conversation we had before about technology, which is among, you know, globalization, the biggest change in the last 2 decades, and the consequences on our culture as it relates to leading a healthy lifestyle. The statistics of the usage of smartphones, for example, and the you know, the constant nature that that we all, you know, use those is extraordinary, and what that means for our technology. But you know, I was in Scandinavia not too long ago. You know, an area of the world that's so advanced technologically, in many cases far beyond where we are, yet that culture in those countries, for the most part, is very much around health. And what is that cultural insight? You know, what are they doing there that makes that the way you live your life? As you said, how we do the things we do here. Yet, you know, still on the cutting edge technology. Very interesting, maybe little laboratory to look at. I'm sure people have, you probably have as well, but I think that's a fascinating thing to get our hands around.
I'm going to turn to Dom in a minute, but while she's speaking, I want to just give notice to our digital natives here who, you know, they often say if you care about the future, you ask people who are actually going to be in the future when the future comes. So I want to let Abby and Ani know that we're going to be turning to them after Dom's comment.
I think there should be an emphasis a little bit more on relationships. I am by nature an introvert, and I'm very comfortable with 1 or 2 people. Anything more is a little overwhelming for me, but I love people. But I think the emphasis is important that if we're teaching people about a healthy lifestyle, you know, that it's a team affair, it's a group affair, it's a family affair. As I mentioned, even though I'm an introvert, I love being around people. And I do think that, you know, it's, you know, difficult to think about, but someday we're going to leave this earth, and the thing that's going to probably be on our mind is going to be our relationships with people or our relationship with God. And so I think while we're here and we're trying to encourage and empower people to live this healthy lifestyle, we got to remember that we're going to do it together. And so the focus on the parents, the focus on the family, the focus on the community and the school, I think would be important.
Who wants to start? All right, Ani.
I think that we should really focus on the next generation because that's who's going to be living in these next 60 years. So I think that teachers, staff, and adults should really be teaching them, you know, the positive effects of healthy lifestyles and healthy eating and physical activity. So, and I think that, as Ms. Dawes said in the beginning of the meeting, actions speak louder than words. So I think that when someone does something positive, I think it really affects a student or anyone a lot more than just someone telling you to do something. So thank you.
Hi. Okay, so I think I agree completely with everybody that's spoken so far, and I feel like students can be teaching students. As a youth leader, I feel that students react more to other students speaking to them about how important this is, and having a student speak to a student can really show how this next generation is going to take control of how we are actually going to develop and become a healthier, active community.
That is so important, I think. Now, let me just push us a little bit more. We've heard about the 0 to 60 campaign, and how can we use that campaign to really help us become healthier overall? I mean, this concept of putting it in the everyday life, I really like that bullet. You know, many of us are in meetings all day. It's very common to have a coffee break, but we had an activity break here. Why can't that be the expectation? What are some things that we can do as council members to try to get that marriage between the 0 to 60 campaign and a long-term push to be healthier? Deb, I see you want to make a point.
Yeah, because I feel like we should be standing, or we should be, right now, we should be doing some, right? We should be moving around. Like, I would love, first of all, that was beautiful. I would love to know, like, can we change study hall to be active, right? Why is study hall sedentary? Why aren't we on exercise bikes while we're studying chemistry? Or why, when you're, because we all know active minds learn better, right? We do better. When we should all be taking walking meetings. We do this all the time, actually, as part of Let's Move. We stand for the first 15 minutes of a meeting sometimes, so it charges you. It gets you going. So I think we need to challenge ourselves every day. Like, okay, how do we go 0 to 60 in a new way every day? Right? Little bits of increments at a time, right? Where it's like, whether or not you're walking around the kitchen while you're waiting for your bagel to pop out, right? Where, like, what are the fun ways that we can really challenge ourselves and in our existing grocery store trips or what have you, like what can we do to make it a little bit easier for us to keep moving? So I think we just need to look at what we traditionally do and just push a little harder.
Cornell.
And as you said, in using the hashtag 0 to 60, what are some ways that we can use that? I think we also should talk about years, 0 to 60, and come up with a campaign. What you do at 1, what you do at 2, and build it all the way to 60. We know that doing activities does not keep one fit or healthy. We have professional athletes here, we have Olympians here, and when people stop, they stop. So you could be the best in the world, and then you don't work out anymore. So that doesn't work. So we're talking about culture. How do we build a culture? So let's take 0 to 60 and teach people how to do, every year make a mark. And that year we're doing something that year. What did I do at 3? What did I do at 4? What did I do at 45? What do I do at 55? What do I do at 60? And that'll be our kind of one of the ways to use our goal. Because if not, people just stop. They stop. So, and that's what we're talking about, how to keep them from stopping, So we know that just because because sometimes people, for whatever reason, they think that you're supposed to stop. So one of the things we want them to do is to know that certainly we could go take it to 100, but we're talking about right now 0 to 60. How do we use it with that? And I think that's one way that because for me, I see it all the time, and I'm really like, we got to keep people active and moving, getting younger as opposed to getting older. And so it's like, how do we build that into the mindset, into the culture?
I'm glad as a geriatrician, I'm glad you said you could take it beyond 60. Yeah. I was going to say 60 times 2, because 120 is not so, out of the realm of possibilities. Jane, you look like you wanted to make a point.
I do. I want to tag on to what Deb said. And we have in Miami 2 different school board buildings, catty corner. And, usually call someone, you leave a voice message. So one day I decided to put a pedometer on and see, instead of sending emails and making phone calls, walk from office to office throughout the day. And I put 7,000 steps on by not using the computer or the phone during the day. So just those little simple things in the workplace can make a difference.
And I just wanted to piggyback off of something Deb said. You said you guys go for like a walking break, or you walk, and you suggested we stand up during the meeting. And I think it's a great idea. However, when we were doing the fitness break, I mentioned something to Drew, and he was like, I don't know why you women wear heels. So, because it's so painful to stand and work out and walk in heels. So I think something where it's obviously targeting just women, unless men wear heels, but kicking off these heels. And if you're 5'3" though, you want the height. So it has to be heels with a little platform on it, but something fun like that for women to kick off our heels, put on comfortable shoes, and get moving and standing during meetings and walking. So that's just for the women. Okay.
Donna, you look like you wanted to jump in.
Yes, since this is National Fitness Month, I've been incorporating little dance breaks at schools. And also, we just celebrated the National Women's Health Week last week. And one of the things that I was sharing with women is, I think sometimes you just have to get in the mindset every day when you start your day to try to do something that's good for your mind, body, and spirit. So I shared with them what I do every morning is called PMS. It's the good PMS. It really is. It's prayer, meditation, and stretching. So I kind of feel like that just gets me ready and energized for the day. And if I do nothing else the rest of the day, at least I was able to get in something that was so substantial and so meaningful for me. And I may put in like some core exercises just to make sure that I've gotten some strength training in. But just to start my day, if I don't do that, my day is totally different. And I may have to stop and go and do it later. But it's just helpful to get something in and something at the beginning of the day, even if it requires you to get up 5 or 10 minutes earlier.
Well, I know we're out of time, so let me just thank everyone and wrap it up by, first of all, saying I think the wisest words came from the future, who really told us that our actions speak louder than our words. We are the role models, and we are the ones who are going to help create that new future. And they want to learn from each other. So we need to empower every single environment where our kids are going to be as healthy as it can be so that they will learn how to teach each other, to use technology, to use mind, body, spirit, and community, and to build it into every aspect of their day. So this has been a great conversation, and thank you particularly to our future.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Should we take Deb up on her offer and stand up for a second? Let's do it. All right, excellent. But I don't want to get crosswise with Shelley, so you got to sit back down again so we can get to work.
You're the boss.
I'm the boss.
We did have a good break.
We did? Oh, excellent. Donna gave me something new to go home with, which I always love. Thank you, Donna. So, listen, thank you for the chance to react to some of that and talk about future. I'm going to do that in the context of some of my personal experiences. Most of my adult life has been in New Orleans, and Drew Brees and the Saints aside, we're not known as the healthiest city in the country. And I think in particular, it was a community that had a real inflection point about 12 years ago when we had a wake-up call from Hurricane Katrina that caused those of us in the medical field who had been treating the disease, the consequences of poor nutrition and physical activity, people in the school system, others in the city government to really take stock of what we had been doing to either support or maybe not support our community. And started a journey that was thinking about how we would change our community to one that had more of a culture of health. And it's really just been an incredible experience for me as a citizen of that community, and I had the chance to be health commissioner for a few years. And as I took on that responsibility as the health commissioner, it was a daunting task to look at the challenges we had about physical activity or inactivity, as the case may be, about access and consumption of healthy food, about the consequences of disease. And so we got some consultation early on, and we went straight to the most important source, which was the youth in our community, who told us with great clarity that they wanted to stay physically active, they wanted to have healthy foods to eat, and they thought in particular that was related to their performance in school, their ability to stay in school, for their peers to stay in school, and for there not to be any reason that people wouldn't have all the opportunities going forward. And they asked us as we developed the initiative to talk about fitness overall and not to talk about things like obesity. And so we called our work there Fitnola. And it was our Let's Move program. it really has just been a part of a broader effort in our community to really rethink the way that we're approaching health and to try to change our culture of health. And I want to give you two key cultural changes that stick with me. One of them sounds tiny, but I believe it's huge. And it was a few years ago when I was still health commissioner, and I went to lunch at a notoriously unhealthy establishment, La Usa's, and saw on the board that they were chalkboard that they were now serving brown rice. And in a place like New Orleans, where that would have just been unheard of in the past, and I asked them about it, and they said they were getting a lot of demand for it. And we're beginning to see on our menus in restaurants, but certainly the availability of farmers markets and what people are growing in community gardens, that there's a cultural shift and a priority around access to healthy food and how we cook it. And similarly, that same community made a decision about 2 years ago now to go smoke-free, which, though not directly related to nutrition and physical fitness, is certainly completely in that constellation of things that are affecting people's health. And obviously, if you're smoking, you're not able to breathe as well, and so you're not able to be as physically active. So it's been a really dramatic cultural change, and I tell you that story, though Riza left and she didn't get to hear me tell a story, because if a city like New Orleans, known for excess or known maybe globally for being a place of rich food and unhealthy lifestyles, can make a decision as a community to make change, I really believe anyone can. And because it came from the voices of the people whose future we were building in our community, it's really stuck, because those young people are now aging up and they're taking on more leadership in high school and beyond, and being a part of the solution. I'm going to flip to another community and talk about sustainability of all these kinds of ideas, because it's been mentioned throughout, and that is that no one person, no matter, there are extraordinary people who are sufficiently self-motivated to get up every day and eat perfectly right and exercise and be active perfectly. But I, like you, am often motivated by my dog. When I'm just feeling not quite like I want to get out there and run, she always does. And so I think that sense of responsibility to others and community is important, but we have to make those choices easy. And we haven't really got the kind of built environment and infrastructure in our country that's supporting people to literally get out and walk. Not everybody lives in that kind of a neighborhood. And so I think as we move forward as a country, we have to consider the social determinants of health that are sometimes in the way, particularly in communities where there may not be safe playgrounds or parks or sidewalks, or particularly where there may not be bike lanes in communities, or other things that we might take for granted in some of the places in this country, or access to healthy food in the school system or beyond. So that notion of creating a fabric of the environment and systems and policy level change, I believe, is our important responsibility, not just at HHS, but as community members. We have to pay attention to how we do that, just like my community's been doing in New Orleans and places I'm seeing across the country. And I want to give you one really fine example. I get the chance to visit really remarkable places in the U.S., and I recently went to Johnson City, Tennessee. This is a small community, and there are 3 all around, and they've all decided in different ways that they're going to be healthier. But Johnson City doesn't actually have its own health department, and so it sort of became a health department. And as I was visiting with school and with young people and hearing about how they were using technology to build competition and encourage themselves to be active, all the ways that through the faith-based community, through elected local leadership, through healthcare, through city government, they had all made a decision that health was a priority and they were going to change their community. But the most striking example was in the Public Works Department, where they were having to dig up a sewer line and lay down a new one. And they decided, they took it upon themselves in the Public Works Department to put a path on top of the sewer line when they covered it back over, because they knew that walking was important increasingly to people in their community, and they saw that as a way that they could be a part of a solution, that they could just lay down the pathway literally on top of what might have just been covering up with something non-walkable. Those kinds of little decisions that all of us make, not just about our own health, but about how we're going to change our community, I think over time, and I hope it's before 60 years, are going to weave together and give us a chance at health, because Mark is right. Though we're healthier as a community overall and our life expectancy is extending, that's not true for all of our neighbors. And there is an intense sense of urgency that I feel to give everyone a chance to be able to participate in and make and act upon their choices, right, about being healthy, both through nutritional and physical fitness. So to the youth people who should still be at the table, thank you guys for reminding us that we are caretakers of your future and your health. And I'm asking you in return to make sure that we are thoughtful in the choices that we make, even when they're little ones, about replacing sewer lines or what we make available in schools. And I think you also need to help us not be assumptive. Because one thing that does happen as you age is you know a lot of things, and so you think that's your tool set. You think that's your way that you're going to solve the challenges because it's what you know. You guys understand the world in a new way. You have a new way of thinking and collaborating and working with people that I think is going to help us find solutions that we haven't even dreamed of. So thank you guys for participating today and for inspiring us. And again, thanks to this council for really keeping us on the mark for this.
Thank you for your remarks, DeSalvo. Your personal stories were very touching. Years ago, I was in New Orleans for an event with the President's Council, and just seeing the markings on the homes that were devastated during Hurricane Katrina was sad to see. But we went into a community center, did physical activity with kids, and they were smiling and laughing, and it was just a good feeling to know the impact that we can all continue to make. Great. Well, we are wrapping this meeting up, and this is our final formal meeting. As you all know, I want to first say thank you to Shelley Foles. She has been the most amazing leader to each and every one of us. Fierce, what was it? Fierce, fearless, and whatever else. She's been amazing. So I want to give a thanks to Shelley Foles. Give a thanks also Give a thanks also to my amazing co-chair, Drew. When I've mentioned to people that I'm the co-chair of the President's Council, they always ask me, oh, co-chair, who's the other one? Drew Brees, and then there's no more talk about me. So you're pretty amazing. You've been wonderful to be around, and just a great guy, great family man. You talk about your wife and kids all the time, and I love that. Also to my council members, you guys are amazing role models. I mentioned that earlier, the impact that each and every one of you all have made and you will continue to make. And you inspire me to want to give more. And as I mentioned earlier, Jane, Stephen, I can't touch you. I just know that. So thank you all for your commitment as well. I just want to end on just a few remarks. Who would have thought we would have seen a video of President Kennedy? Rob had mentioned earlier he didn't think he'd ever follow such amazing remarks of our former president many, many years ago. But one thing that he said that struck me, and I've heard this before, sound mind, sound body. And that's what we need for the next generation. We need not forget the importance of sound parenting. Everything does start at the home. I understand that it's talked about in our discussions that kids are in school the majority of the time of their day. However, I've been traveling around giving motivational talks now for 20 years, which is just amazing to believe. It's interesting that this was my calling. And whenever I've gone around and I've spoken to kids and I've asked them who their role models are in life, they do not say an athlete. They do not say a celebrity. They do not say someone they saw on YouTube that looks just nuts for their 15 minutes of fame. They either say mom or dad. Mom or dad. That's what kids say to me. And I always make sure I relay that to parents out in the audience, because you need to recognize everything you say, your kids are listening. Everything you do, your kids are going to model your behavior. So do remember that you have the greatest impact on your kids, and you can teach your kids to love themselves and to love those around them, or not. Us celebrities or athletes or Olympians and physicians and everything else that's on at this table, we inspire, and it's great, and it's a blessing, and it's a gift. but it's mom or dad that truly does set the esteem of a young girl or a young boy in this world. So we do need to remember that each and every day. Moms and dads, remember, it's what you say, yes, but it's more importantly the example that you give. So if you want your kids to live a healthy lifestyle, you need to start showing it to them each and every day. And everything they learn from the council will be like a cherry on top, because isn't cherries pretty healthy? Not the ones that are in like the sugar, but cherry, be a cherry on top, be a fruit, okay, yeah, exactly. It's sweet, but we're a cherry on top, but you guys are truly what the recipe's all made up of. So thank you all for this opportunity, and then any final words from my amazing co-chair, Drew?
Listen, there was a lot of great things in that meeting, but what you said right there was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
It was incredible. I could not agree more. Being a father of 4 children, I wake up every day and think about how I need to model for them, and how I want to give them every opportunity in life to succeed and to continue to inspire and to be inspired. And I think we certainly could all walk away from today saying that we are that. In addition to walking away from here feeling very, very good about what we've accomplished over the last 6 years, last 60 years, and what this council will continue to accomplish, let's also make sure that let's identify, all of us, at least one thing, and I know there's going to be many things, as I can sit here and look at my notes, that we can get to work on immediately to continue to have impact, have influence in a very positive way in our homes and in our communities. So on that note, thank you.
And last thing I want to say, please visit our website, 0to60fitness.org, and follow us on Twitter, which is @fitnessgov, to stay updated on all of our amazing activities. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.